Daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
Alright, welcome back. I decided, and we'll make it part 8 as I'm going along here, so that we can kind of discuss and see what's going along. Because there's a lot that I'm thinking through, and if you're a woodworker, you're kind of going to want to know this. Alright, so the piece of wood that I had, once I've got it cut up into pieces, managed to get 5 pieces, as you can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. This end is a little bit on the punky side. Doesn't mean I can't use it, but it's a little bit on the punky side. That's also causing the issues because it's more porous with this cracking that's going on here and here. So I'll probably turn this out, but I may not use it immediately in the first one until I see how bad the cracking gets. As you get into these, like here in the middle of these, this is the other end, and there's only a little bit of cracking here. And as you get into these, in the middle, there's almost no cracking, but you can still see there's a little bit there's moisture in here. So it's slowly drying out, but you can see that moisture is going to dissipate real quickly. There's not a lot of moisture, but there's enough there to create some shrinkage. So I got some nice 90-degree faces here, and these are nice big chunky blocks. Look at those two. Those are 2 really wet growing years right there. Right there. You see those? Right there, 2 growing years. But it's neat grain. Some really neat grain. So, now the trick is going to be getting a hole drilled in them through straight, that, like I just explained in the last video, so that I can get it chucked up in there. That's going to be the trick. I'm going to give it a shot. I'll use that one as my test piece because I want to do it different than I did these, because like I said, even though I had a nice barrel, I'd really like to see it truly eccentric from the inside hole to the outside surface. So let's try that. Alright, so before I get to drilling, there's a few things we want to learn real quick. First off, the El Cheapo drill bit that was that much longer. When I looked at it, there was a bend right here, and I was like, okay, it should be soft enough for me to give it a little. No, I just put a tiny little bit of pressure on it, and it snapped right in half. So I'm not good on that. But I don't throw anything away, and even if I made a mistake and I broke this by trying to take the bend that was in it out of it, there's still enough flute in here that I can sharpen this tip, and I can still use it as a drill bit. And this one is far longer than any standard drill bit. So that was kind of silly, but I did it because I was trying to get a straighter bit out of it. But we'll see. Still usable. You can. It's not the highest quality, but anyway. So the next thing we want to know is, okay, so I'm setting up because I want to drill this as true to center as possible so that I can have as much meat as possible. So what I've done is I've taken all 5 of these pieces and I've drawn a cross or an X in them from corner to corner and corner to corner to find my center. Then I've taken my handy dandy drafting tool to center that, and I go to my shortest edge, which was a little different over here. Okay, maybe I could have moved the center over. That's possible. I could have done that. But the standard way to do it is corner to corner, corner to corner, find your center. That's the way you typically find your center. And mind you, if once you draw this out, you can see that I'm leaning towards that edge. It's adjustable if you want to, but I think I'll be fine. So the cylinders there that I did before were 3 3/4 inches. Okay, and I'm trying to get one with a little bit more meat. And if I get this down, I still have, almost 4.5 inches. Once I get it turned out, which is fine. I'm hoping to get it down to maybe 4 1/4. The bigger diameter has a better radius, and it will allow for a smoother cut on the apples. Trust me, I've in the presses that I built before, what I found out was the bigger the diameter of this press of the grinder barrel, the smoother the operation was when it came to actually grinding. So I want to get this as big as possible. I also like the harder wood, and as you can see, if I can get this down, I've got very few cracks on the inside of here. Maybe we can do something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step this, I'm going to start a hole here, and because another drill bit is going to want to follow that hole to its end, that will center this drill bit for continued puncture down or plunge down. Once I get that done, then I can step it up to the next bit and move down even further. It's going to be a process very much like it was drilling out the lag holes for legs, but that's the point. That's what we're up to. I think I can get at least 4, and maybe if I'm lucky 5 grinder barrels out of this, and have the ability to do a couple more presses. I always want to do as much as possible, so let me get through, see how I do on these, and I'll give you an update as I go. Alright, big learning lesson here. So I've gone ahead, even though this is broken, sharpened the tip. I went ahead and pre-drilled with that bit, and if I didn't explain it quite the same before, let me try it a different way. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But the point is this. The hole that bit makes creates a guide for the next bit. And if I can do this properly, which I think I have, I use the partial bit to go ahead and drill in the remaining holes in all of these. Now, that was the center of the top. I went ahead and drilled it out, and it was probably, that deep down to about here. That left me a nice guide hole for this. Now, I couldn't drill but so much at a time, simply because of the amount of material that I could move with the amount of flute that would fill up with that material. So it was in and out, in and out, in and out, until I could get all the way through. And you can see I've gone all the way through. Noticing, look at the amount of moisture that's still in this block of wood that kind of worked its way out because of the pressure and the heat. But I'm not that far off a center here. I'm pretty good here to here. Maybe a little longer here, so the hole may be further this way from the center. But that's okay. What I want is good holes. So this little hole should fit right over top of the pin, that pin right there. And then what I'm going to do is start stepping up the bits to get my 5/8 almost all the way to the end. Okay? So I think I got this worked out. I think it's going to work fine. I've got to go through all of these. There's a lot of steps and a lot of process to do that. But I'm feeling a lot better about it now, even though I broke my bit. Alright, so that first step worked through. I went through all 5 of these all the way through with that one drill bit. And I'm pretty decent on the other side penetration as far as its centering. Now I'm stepping up to the first bit, and I just did that one, and I've got a block down here to keep me from drilling holes into my floor. Alright, so I'm running them down. I got a piece of tape on them to keep me from going too far. And each bit that I drill through is going to be a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter, so that it helps me center, so that when I go to drill through, the pressure of the wood that has to be cut by the bit will keep it centered as it punches through, and I won't lose eccentricity on the backside. A lot to think through, my friends, but this is geometry and this is engineering. It's engineering. Says the birds. Alright, so I got to do the rest of these, and I'm going to step them all up, and boy, this is not a easy process. Alright, so I've stepped up all my bits, and the leading side that I went through is centered, of course, but not all of them are centered on their out, but you still see that moisture. I've been pushing those drill bits through there, and it pushes the moisture because it heats it up. So you can see that one bit. There's still 2 inches here, which means my turning can be 4 inches, but it'll be difficult because I've got a lopside here. It's weighted over on this end, so that's going to be a little challenging. Let me pick up my stuff here. It's going to be a little challenging on a couple of these. That one's not too bad. We'll have to see as they go. But let's take this and take a look at it real quick. As you can just set that right there. As you can see, each bit I move the tape up closer and closer to the tip. That way, when I go to plunge, because I need to finish with this bit, when I go to plunge through, I can step it back up and have the least amount of pressure to follow through. So even though the center of the hole may not necessarily be aligned perfectly, where'd you go there? There you go, right there. Even though it may not be aligned perfectly, I think I'm going to get that right there, and I'm going to get around with the light. That sits. You can't see it as good as I can feel it, but that sits snug on there. And what that does for me is, once I turn this, regardless of the diameter, the outside diameter of the barrel with the inside hole will be eccentric. That is more important. So I am upgrading from my previous builds by doing this, because I've had these, even though that dude broke. But that's okay. It's still doable, still usable. These are cheap. I'm not expecting, super high grade. Like I say, what I will say is I ran the drill press, and it pulled my batteries down when I'm charging up a battery. And so I think I'm gonna have to do generator on this. I don't know how far I'm gonna get this evening, because we gotta do homestead chores here soon. But I do need to run the table saw to knock the corners down on that. So I think I'll do that next, because if I can remove this much material and I don't have to hit it with my gouge, that much material, then it'll make it a hell of a lot easier to turn it. And that's kind of grunt work. So I think I'll just let this go as part A of part 8. I don't know. Maybe we'll come back on and do some more on this as I'm going along. We'll have to see the time on the video. Anyway, out for now. Alright, folks. You can see by the position of the sun, it is late in the afternoon, and I like it. I just finished up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you this is pine. It's pretty heavy because you can see the grain is pretty dense. It's still pretty heavy. Oh my God, that's solid. Which means you should maintain a steady grind a little bit better. More momentum, more weight, more momentum. I've eaten a damn 2x4. Look at all that. Look at it. Full of wood chips. All over the place again. All over my stuff. Oh my goodness. So it was quite a bit. I ended up stopping, tearing everything apart because I thought my belt was going bad. And it was just that set screw right there was slipping. Anyway, long day, and I'm tired. You probably can hear it in my voice, but we're doing pretty good. Doing really good. Doing really good. Alright, my friends, I think I'll call it good. Each one of these is obviously, you can see, is a little bit taller and longer than that one, which means I can set it up, because if you watch this thing turn, the location there, you can see it. The location of the center of this was not necessarily perpendicular to the hole that was drilled, but because this is parallel all the way around, when I set it in the miter saw, when I cut this face, and all I need is a blade width or so just to true it up, I will clean that face up, and I'll clean that face up. And I gave this extra length in order to have that available. Alright, I am wore out. That's a lot of work. Got my Costco approved face shield. You know, when we went to Costco, you gotta have your ritualistic shame muzzle. You gotta have your ritualistic shame muzzle. And I'm like, big FU, you know. But they handed me this because they wouldn't let me shop otherwise. So, okay, you know, I got these, and I'm like, that worked pretty good on my lathe, and it did, and it worked really good to keep all of these chips out of my face. So, huge step in these grinder barrels. I'm very happy with them, and we'll have to see what we can do next to get them ready to go into a box. So I call this the end of number 8, even though there's 2 videos in a day. Lots to talk about, and finally cleared up a bit. Y'all take care.